Subscribe for more stories and show your support by giving this video a thumbs up. The Wind's Lost Song, The Adventure of Aria and Finn. The town was named Cytherea. It was built on the windiest hill in the world, a place where pinwheels spun constantly on the streets and wind chimes hanging from rooftops never ceased. For the people of Cytherea, the wind wasn't just a weather phenomenon, it was music. The song of the wind whispered to them when to plant crops, when a storm was coming, and even when to celebrate. But that morning, something strange happened. When 10-year-old Aria opened her window, that familiar coolness didn't hit her face. Her curtains didn't flutter. And the scariest part, silence. The wind chimes had stopped. The leaves on the trees stood still like frozen statues. Aria immediately ran downstairs. Her best friend, Finn, was standing in front of the door, staring at the kite in his hand with confusion. "It won't fly, Aria," said Finn sadly. "No matter how fast I run, the kite just drags on the ground." When they went down to the town square, they saw that everyone carried the same worry. The windmills had stopped. Flags were stuck to their poles. It was as if Cytherea's breath had been cut off. The town's elder, wise Silas, was leaning on his cane, looking at the sky. "The wind isn't sulking, children," Silas said in a raspy voice. "The wind is lost. Or rather, its song has been stolen." Aria and Finn approached Silas. "Its song was stolen?" asked Aria. "Who could steal the song of the wind?" Silas pulled an old, yellowed parchment from his jacket pocket. It was a map, but instead of roads, it showed sound waves. "According to an old legend," said Silas, "the song of the wind is born in the crystal canyon behind the world's highest mountains. If that song is trapped somewhere, the wind loses its direction and stops. And I fear the Keeper of Silence may have awakened." "The Keeper of Silence?" Finn's eyes went wide. "An ancient stone giant who hates noise and loves solitude," said Silas. "If the wind doesn't come back, Cytherea will turn into a ghost town. If the mills don't turn, there will be no flour. If the sailboats don't come, there will be no supplies." Aria looked at Finn. Finn looked at Aria. They didn't need to speak. Aria adjusted the flute case on her back. Finn hugged his invention bag, which contained binoculars, ropes, and hooks, tightly. "We will bring that song back," said Aria. Their journey took them through the whispering forest outside the town. But contrary to its name, the forest was not whispering. Birds weren't singing because the wind wasn't carrying them. Branches weren't rustling. The air was so heavy that walking felt like moving underwater. "This is very spooky," said Finn. His own footsteps echoed in the forest. "Thud! Thud! Thud! It's like the world is holding its breath," said Aria. As they walked, Finn pulled a strange device out of his bag. It was a sound detector. He had made it from funnels and an old gramophone horn. "If the wind is trapped somewhere, it must be trying to get out," said Finn. "We must hear it, even if it's a very faint sound." They walked for hours. When the forest ended, they were faced with massive, grey cliffs. Just then, Finn stopped. "Shush!" He held the funnel toward the cliffs. "Do you hear that, Aria?" Aria listened closely. There was a muffled moan coming from very deep, as if from underground. "Whoosh! Woo!" "I found it," said Finn. It's crying. The wind is crying. Following the sound, they passed through a narrow passage between the mountains and reached Crystal Canyon. This place was mesmerizing. The walls were covered with giant quartz crystals. Normally, the wind would make flute-like sounds as it passed through these crystals. But now, there was a deathly silence. At the end of the canyon, they saw a massive cave entrance. The entrance was blocked by a huge boulder. And in front of that boulder sat a giant figure made of stone. This was Grom, the keeper of silence. Grom was as big as a mountain, with granite shoulders and a moss-covered head. In his lap was a jar. Inside the jar, a glowing, silvery smoke swirled around. This was the wind's song. Aria stepped forward bravely. "Hello," she shouted. Grom slowly turned his head. His eyes were like two dark caves. "Noise," said Grom. His voice was grating, like two stones rubbing together. "Little noisemakers. Why did you break my silence?" "We aren't noisemakers," said Finn, trembling a bit. "We come from Zephyria. We need the thing in that jar. That is the wind's song." Grom hugged the jar. "No. It is mine. The world is too noisy. Birds chirp, leaves rustle, people shout. My head hurts. So I caught the wind. Without the wind, the sound stopped. Now there is peace." Aria felt that the giant wasn't evil, just tired and lonely. "But Grom," said Aria softly, "silence is beautiful, but if it lasts forever, it becomes loneliness. Without the wind's song, flowers can't carry their pollen, clouds can't bring rain. The world will fall asleep and never wake up." Grom shrugged. It caused a piece of rock to fall. Crash. "I don't care. I just want to sleep. And that whoosh sound of the wind won't let me sleep." Finn whispered in Aria's ear. "You can't take it by brute force. We have to convince him." Aria had an idea. She took out the flute from her back. "Grom," she said, "if I give you something more beautiful than the wind, something that will relax you and put you to sleep, will you release the wind?" Grom looked suspiciously. "What is it?" "A lullaby," said Aria. Grom laughed. It was more like an earthquake. "Stones don't like songs." "You've never heard one before," said Aria. She brought the flute to her lips. Aria began to play. But this wasn't a cheerful, fast Zephyria song. It was a slow, peaceful melody resembling ocean waves. The notes echoed in Crystal Canyon. The crystals vibrated, accompanying the melody. The sound was so soft, it was as if an invisible silk fabric was rippling in the air. Grom's hard, frowning expression relaxed. His stone shoulders dropped. "This," said Grom, closing his eyes. "This feels like morning dew on moss." Finn tapped the crystals around him lightly using his detector. Ding! Ding! He kept rhythm with Aria's flute. This enchanting concert created a wave of peace inside the canyon. When the music ended, Grom let out a deep sigh. "That was beautiful," said the giant. "For the first time in centuries, the noise inside my head has stopped." Grom looked at the jar in his lap. The silvery smoke inside was swirling impatiently. "If I release the wind, it will make noise again," said Grom anxiously. "It won't," said Aria. "We make you a promise, Grom." When the wind returns, we will set up special wind traps at the entrance of this canyon. When the wind enters here, its sound will be cut off, and you will enjoy the silence. But let the rest of the world breathe. Grom thought. Then he slowly nodded his head. It is a deal, little musician. Grom opened the lid of the jar. Suddenly, there was a massive burst of energy. Whoosh! The silvery smoke shot up into the sky. It turned into a whirlwind first, then dispersed and became invisible. Aria's hair blew wildly. Finn had to hold on to his hat. The air suddenly cooled. The wind passing through the canyon whistled wonderfully as it hit the crystals. The way back was much easier because the wind carried them on its back. The motionless forest had awakened. Leaves were dancing, birds were caught in the wind currents and gliding. Finn's kite flew out of his bag and took off by itself. It was evening when they arrived at the town of Zephyria. But no one was sleeping. The windmills had started turning with a creak. The wind chimes were playing a wild, joyful symphony. Cling! Clang! People had poured into the streets, celebrating the breeze hitting their faces. Wise Silas met them in the square. "Do you hear it?" said Silas, his eyes filling with tears. "The heart of the world is beating again." Aria raised her flute and accompanied the melody of the wind. Finn smiled, watching the pinwheel spin. That night, the biggest celebration ever was held in Zephyria. But Aria didn't forget her promise. The next day, she returned to the entrance of Crystal Canyon with Finn. They installed the special soundproofing panels Finn had designed. Thus, while the wind gave life to the world, the stone giant Grom continued to sleep peacefully in his cave. Aria learned that every song has a listener, but sometimes, silence can have its own music too. And from that day on, the wind of Zephyria whispered a sweet melody to Aria's window every morning, as if thanking her. The end.